Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Build Your Copywriting Business. Hey there, Kate. How are you?
Hello, hello. I'm well,
Hello.
thanks. How are you?
Good. I'm very good. Thank you. A little chilly, but otherwise pretty good. So today we are going to discuss a topic that we know is on a lot of people's minds when they're considering going freelance. And that is the topic of benefits. Because when you're working a full-time job, you have all of those cushy things that they promise you to ensure that you come on staff and you stay on staff. So let me ask you right off the bat, Kate, are you missing those benefits?
I am not. In fact, I think I have more benefits than. um, to be clear, I am fortunate to be on my husband's healthcare, but even if I was not, in fact, when I first started freelancing, I was not. So I actually went out and bought my own healthcare, and it was not a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually quite easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the biggest ones that folks get a little bit hung up on, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, I agree. I also purchase my own healthcare. We don't have it through the company yet. Maybe eventually we will, but right now I purchase my own healthcare as well. And I agree. I think that first of all, everybody needs to have healthcare, right? That's kind of a basic. You need to have it, but probably more than ever in history, although the history of adding healthcare as a benefit to companies is very interesting. Check out your NPR podcasts. But I think that's one of the biggest concerns about people who are considering going freelance is the idea of quote unquote giving up their healthcare or giving up their inexpensive or giving up healthcare that is inexpensive or that kind of thing. I think something that people need to remember, as we'll talk about all of the different benefits, but something that people need to remember when it comes to benefits is that a lot of these things companies are making you pay for in one way or another. You know, it's not like they're giving you free health care or they're giving you all kinds of free stuff to tantalize you. It either directly comes out of your salary or they offer you benefits so that they don't have to pay you higher as a
Mm-hmm.
salaried employee. One of the reasons, as we talk about when we talk about freelancing, we talk about increasing your rates, and we also talk about figuring out how much or how long a project is going to take you, and then multiplying it by 1.2 or 1.3, or the time slash cost, multiplying it by 1.2 and 1.3, not to screw over your clients or anything like that, or not to I wonder if I'm going to get beeped for that word. Let's see. Not to stick it to your clients, but just to ensure that you're being adequately paid for the work that you are doing, because when you are on staff, you end up there. They call them benefits for a reason because they want to be like, okay, come on staff, you'll get all these wonderful, amazing things,
Mm-hmm.
and they give you these wonderful, amazing things so that they don't have to pay you higher. I mean, that's really is the genesis of companies offering healthcare as company provided plans, is so that they wouldn't have to pay you more as an employee.
Yeah, and I think it helps with when, pricing, we talk about it a lot because it's such an issue. People get very uh scared to price their services and figure out that math, but it is based in reality. And so if you're looking at salaries for copywriters in with your experience level in your area, you start there and, like Nikki said, multiply by 1.2, 1.3, and do out the math, because you're not getting those benefits. So you are covering yourself. You're not just charging more simply because you're a freelancer, of saying, oh well, I can make 50 is an hour as a freelancer versus 25 if I was on staff. Well, maybe it's not because you're a freelancer, though. It's to make up for the fact that you have to pay for these things. And
Mm-hmm.
someone on staff, it's, to Nikki's point, already taken out of their paycheck, so their actual salary doesn't have to be as much. So the math is all works out if you do it right. It's not just pulling numbers out of thin air and saying, well, I'm a freelancer, so now all of a sudden I can charge 100 and 200 and 300 because I'm so much better somehow than someone who's on staff. It's not that at all. It is to cover these things that are now expenses for you as a business owner. You are technically the employer and the employee, and we know we talk about you being the CEO. So if it helps though for, when you're thinking of taxes and that sort of thing, you are both the employer in some situations and you're the employee in some situations. So it's lots of benefits there, but also just knowing that it's not
Yeah, knowing that that's not arbitrary.
yeah,
Exactly. That's a
exactly.
great point. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
But so you can purchase your own healthcare. You can purchase it directly. You can purchase it through healthcare marketplaces. There are some associations that if you join the association, they will have group benefits. But do your homework because it's out there. But there's also something to remember is that when you're a freelancer and you're purchasing your own healthcare, and we should say too, maybe we should have clarified this earlier, but if you want to be a full-time on-staff copywriter, that's awesome too. We're not at all saying
we've both done it.
We've both done it.
It's
both
great.
Loved it. Exactly. We're not at all saying that you have to be a freelancer versus being on staff. We're just for people who are interested in being full-time freelancers. We want to compare the benefits of being on staff with the benefits that the benefits that a lot of new freelancers or would-be freelancers think that they're giving up, but they're not in fact giving up.
We're trying to dispel the fear. There's pros and cons to everything, as with anything in life. Grass is always greener, and it's very green in both areas.
Exactly. So green. Beautiful.
So
verdant.
Yes.
You can purchase your own healthcare, as we were saying, but something to keep in mind is that as a freelancer, your healthcare is a deductible. Is deductible. It's a tax deduction. Now, every time we mention anything about taxes or anything about the law or anything like that, we will say again and again, we're not lawyers, we're not accountants, we are not tax preparation specialists. If you have questions, go and talk to a licensed accountant or a tax preparation professional, someone like that. However, your healthcare as a freelancer, if you're a full-time freelancer, your healthcare is deductible, which is great because then it makes your taxes less. And to Kate's point, it all evens out across the board.
The key is really to do the math. I think when you're looking at it and feeling scared by the cost of healthcare, you really need to do out the math to say, okay, if I was on staff, what would my salary be? Okay, here's my freelance salary. So what does that mean for covering the costs of healthcare? What does that mean for the number of clients I need to work with or projects I need to take on? And once you actually do out the math, I think you can kind of breathe. It's not as terrifying as it seems. But again, one of those things you're doing for the first time. And so it can feel like, where do I begin? But begin somewhere by searching, by looking, okay, I live in this state. What is the cost? What would happen if I have family? What does that mean? And, to our UK and Australian friends, I think this is maybe a little off, but keep listening because there are other benefits that will impact you.
They're at home going, ha 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 ha, silly Americans. Oh, your healthcare system. Yes, and we'll see what happens with all of that. But for now, you can purchase your own healthcare and you can deduct it. There are a lot of different options. I will warn you that in my own experience, the websites for these tend to be real bad. So set aside some time. It's not something you're going to be able to research in 10 minutes. Literally mostly because their websites are so bad. There have been so many times I've logged in and been like, okay, it didn't work on Safari. Let me try it on Chrome but so do bear that in mind that part will be frustrating, but that will also probably be the most frustrating part. Once you're signed up for it and once you can have it automatically deducted from your checking account or whatever. It's just like when you had health insurance with your employer. You get a card in the mail, you present your card. It's the setting it up is the hardest part.
The government loves Microsoft, so maybe Internet Explorer. I think that's
that's a good
and maybe Internet Explorer from like 2010 because they haven't upgraded yet.
Yeah.
Go to an outdated browser. But yeah.
So that's health insurance. What about 401ks? What about retirement? That kind of thing. Companies love to tell you, "Ooh, when you come in, we match what you put in, and ooh, we'll help you save for retirement." And actually, Kate, I'm going to
Yes.
give this over to you because we were just chatting. You are much better at saving for retirement than I am. You're very savvy.
I remember when I first took the job at when we worked together back 10 years ago, and I was contributing to my 401k, and people were like, what is this like young 20-year-old doing contributing to her retirement account? Awesome. Yeah. Compound interest, people. So anyway, 401k, the huge benefit of if you don't have employees, which most of us do not as copywriters, you can open up what is a self 401k. Sometimes it's a solo 401k, but if you Google that, you'll find it. And IRS has tons of information on these plans and who can open one. The huge perk for us is we get to contribute as employer and employee. So I was mentioning before, we're both those roles, we get to contribute as both. And so as the employee, it's pretty similar to if you are part of a 401k plan now with your employer or have been in the past, you have a maximum limit you can contribute. So I think this year it's like $19,500. That applies if you're a part-time copywriter, you can open up a solo 401k and contribute based on your freelance income. But if you are also contributing to your employer plan, the whole total of what you contribute as the employee has to be 19,500. And I'm going to say this
And
again.
that's for this year,
for this
exactly.
year.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
For 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was 2020 as well. But so look at the current year, and I'm going to say it again, go to a tax person if you have questions, because they can help you do this math, because it does get a little bit funky for the employer side. So for the employee side, you have to contribute by end of year. So by December 31st of the year you're in, your employee contributions have to be in. For the employer, you have till you file your taxes, April, whatever date it is. I think it's usually the 15th or something like that. But if it lands
15th.
on a different date, it sometimes moves. Anyway, you have some extra time because your employer contribution is based on your, I'm going to get this wrong, but I believe it's based on your income minus all of your deductions. So that healthcare we were talking about, you can deduct the chair you put in your office that you deduct, all of your deductions. You get your kind of the amount that you actually made, and you can base your employer contributions on that. It's a relatively high percentage, so there's a huge opportunity to then get your taxable income way down. So the beauty is too, because as freelancers we don't necessarily know how much we're going to make in a year. Can you make regular contributions? Yes, you absolutely can, just like you would in an employer plan where it gets taken out of your paycheck and you often don't see it. But if you realize, ooh, I made a lot this year and my taxable income is going to be a lot because I'm now in a higher tax bracket because I, just did really well, or Q4 was really awesome. So by the end of the year, if you think, ooh, I want to lower my taxable income, you can throw 19,500 straight into that retirement account, and suddenly, boop, your taxable income goes down significantly. And I say that because I've had that happen where I was in one tax bracket and then all of a sudden, whoop, got it way down, and actually got some of my quarterly taxes refunded, which was a pleasant surprise. That doesn't often happen. So look into that benefit. That is huge. And again, even if you're doing it part-time, you can still open this up and contribute some of based on your freelance income. So you can't use income from your full-time job and then put it into your solo 401k. If you make 5,000 from freelance in a year, you can't suddenly contribute 7,000 to your self 401k. Again, go to a tax person if you have questions. But
exactly, it's so the umbrella statement is you have a really great opportunity here with the solo 401k or the self 401k. If though you are confused by it, if it's a little mind-boggling, go to an accountant who works with freelancers, and for like a couple $100 they can put this together for you, set it up, and you're good to, or they can refer you. They might have to refer you to a
whichever plan you want to do. Yeah, the bank, Vanguard,
exactly, to
whoever.
to a financial planner, somebody like that potentially.
But they can do the math, which is hugely important. So they can help you calculate once you've gone through your taxes and they've gone through all your tax documents, say, okay, this is your maximum limit, which if you're not worried about hitting the maximum limit, then sure, you might be able to get away with it. But it's much smarter to do out the math and know, okay, here's the max I can contribute. Here's what I want to contribute or can afford to contribute based on my income this year, and kind of, what you want to do for the next year. Do you want to have an emergency fund on hand? Obviously thinking through your finances and what makes most sense for
Mhm.
you.
Mhm. And I know that sometimes being creatives, when we get into like the tax stuff, the finance stuff, it's not as much fun for us, and sometimes it's a little bit scary.
I love it. I don't know why. I hate it. It's a love hate.
I know, right? I hate doing my taxes.
Yeah.
But that's why it makes such sense to talk to an accountant, to talk to a financial planner, because we were talking about taking your business seriously and being the CEO of your business, and you have to be that CEO and ensure that that you are going to be taken care of in the future, and that you're being savvy about your finances. But like a CEO doesn't know everything about the finances in
Mm-hmm.
their business. They hire other people with expertise in those areas to help them out. So, and I know too that sometimes when you're starting out as a copywriter, you're like, well, a couple $100 for an accountant, but I just did my first project and I made 500. That's half of my first project. Yes, absolutely. But when you get to the point where you are pitching regularly and you're landing clients regularly and all that kind of thing, you don't want to be thinking about this kind of stuff. You want to just know that it's taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can send a note to your accountant and be like, hey, how much should I put in my self 401k, and they can write back and be like, okay, based on what you've told me, here's what you should put in.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to figure out this stuff yourself.
Yeah.
um,
And I will say too, there's another option. I know look into it. Anyone can look into it for IRAs that help also lower your taxable income. So if you're looking to lower your taxable income, and this is just in general, not to get off on a too much of a tax tangent, but there's so many benefits to hiring the accountant so they can tell you things like this that could help lower your taxable income. If you have a really great year, it's awesome and you want to celebrate that, but you also don't necessarily want to be paying more in taxes than you have to.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, exactly. And if you're looking to hire an accountant, make sure that there are people it is a person who is adept at experience with working with freelancers, so they do understand these things. Yes, theoretically all accountants know all things, kind of, but some of them are going to be a little fresher on stuff. If you have an accountant who hasn't worked with a freelancer for 5 years versus another accountant who has a steady roster of freelancers as clients, who would you prefer to work with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the 401k. Kate, vacation time.
I
Oh, when
know,
you're a freelancer, you
vacation.
don't get paid to take vacations anymore. Is that really true though?
No. It's like everything. We have a more complicated explanation and answer than a simple yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think it varies from person to person. I know you and I often travel with our work, and so you can spend all day out on the beach and then pop in at night, do some work, or pop in first thing in the morning, depending, make those time zones work in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do it before you have the second, pina colada, but up to you. Just build in that editing time. That's my advice. Save the umbrella drinks. But you can, ramp up work before a vacation to help pay for it. You can ramp down the work during the vacation. You can take the time completely off. And I think a lot of people are worried about, but my recurrent client or a client reaches out with a project and I'm on vacation. Oh, I don't want to turn it down because I don't want to turn down work. And it's very hard to turn down work, especially when you're first starting out and you feel like you're still in that mindset of there's a finite amount of clients. And if I say no to one, then no work is ever going to come again. Or that particular client, I've lost them forever. And that's absolutely not the case. There have been plenty of clients I've referred to fellow copywriters because I couldn't take on a project or, just didn't have the bandwidth, whatever it was. And then I reach back out to them later and say, hey, how did it go? Here's this, you repitch them essentially, and you already have that connection. And usually they're thrilled to hear it from you. People understand that you have to
Mm-hmm.
take time off. No one is going to reward you for working 24 hours a day, every day of the week. They don't know your schedule. No client knows your schedule. So guard your time and value your time. If you value yourself and your time, your clients will then more likely to value and respect your time.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is too, is when you're on salary, yes, maybe they give you 2 weeks of vacation, or maybe if you're lucky, 3 weeks. And yes, they pay you for it, but your salary stays in the same place, right? Your salary is whatever your salary is. You don't get the opportunity to make more or make less depending on what you do. Whereas when you're a freelancer, you are in control of your income. And if you think, yeah, you know what, I want to take 2 weeks off, or I want to take 3 weeks off, or I want to take a week off every month, or I want to, or I want to take 2 weeks here, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks here, and 2 weeks here. You can make that happen.
Or
And
every
you
weekend is a
can,
long weekend. People get to
exactly.
do that.
Exactly.
4 days.
Yeah, summer Fridays. Okay,
Yeah.
great. How about you take summer Fridays in the winter, spring, summer, and fall? You can make that happen. And it's just a matter of you controlling and through pitching, and through effectively and consistently pitching, you controlling what your income looks like, and what your opportunities look like, and what clients you're taking on. If you want to take 2 weeks off and you want to fully paid for, you don't want to charge it, you want to have the cash to pay for your vacation right away, great. Amp up your copywriting work in the months leading up to it. Or as Kate was saying, I personally, I do like to take some time off without work. But I also do really enjoy what I do for a living. So I think a lot of people who are on staff at places have to take a vacation because they want a vacation away from their jobs. Whereas for me, and I know for Kate, you're the same way, we really love what we do for a living. So it's not that we necessarily need a vacation from our jobs. Sometimes we need a little brain space away from writing copy. But you do have that opportunity, if the other people in your life are amenable to it, and if there's not a pandemic, to potentially travel. And yeah, I love to work in the mornings and then go explore whatever city I'm in the afternoon. I have, obviously not this past year, but in the past couple of years, except for 2020, I have traveled for a couple months a year, been away for months, and still been taking clients, still been working with our students and with our team at Filthy Rich Writer. But you have that opportunity, and you have that flexibility because you are a freelance copywriter. And you can, yes, your hours might be a little bit different, and if you have to take client calls depending on where you are in the world, that can be a little complicated. I had a friend who was working from, I don't know, somewhere Thailand, Tokyo, somewhere far east, and his client calls were a little bit tricky because he was basically on the other side of the globe. But at the same time, then he also was living in, where it was, I forget where, Thailand, Bali, Japan,
somewhere amazing.
Exactly. So yeah, exactly. So it really made up for the fact that he had to take calls at like 9 o'clock at night.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah, exactly. I really feel for you. But so I wouldn't. And the thing is too, is that so few, the percentage, and we should look this up before starting to record, but the percentage of people who actually take all of the vacation time that a company gives them is minimal.
That stat is always so depressing.
Yeah, exactly. And even when you are on staff, there's so many people that like take their phone with them, or check in with email, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what the great thing is about freelance is, on a full-time job, people are still working, right? I had one company once where everyone shut down at Christmas, and I always said it was the best vacation ever because there was nothing coming through. Literally the whole campus was shut down. Awesome. But for most companies, everyone else is still churning, and you're the one that's off. Versus freelance, a lot of times you finish all your deadlines, you maybe get ready to kick things off when you come back, and there's really not a lot going on when you actually shut that computer down. There's not a boss waiting for you. There's not a colleague saying, hey, but where did you put this? Did you save this, in Dropbox, and what did you label it? You don't even have to worry about that because all of your loose ends for the most part are tied up, and it's beautiful.
That's a great point. I forgot about that. Even if you didn't touch your email or anything like that, especially if you didn't touch your email, that Monday when you get back and you
Mm-hmm.
have to go through the hundreds of emails and catch up
Yeah.
and figure out, do the work that you would have had to do that Monday, but then also like catch up on all that work from the week before.
You start building in a vacation day just to catch up from the vacation, and it's actually a
Yeah.
work day. It's not really a
Yeah.
vacation day.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's true. How many people do you know that would be like, "Well, we're flying back on Saturday, so we've got Sunday to
Exactly.
oh, yeah, I forgot about that."
Yeah, whereas freelance, you ease back into it. You come back and yeah, maybe Monday's slower than you necessarily want, but it's so much nicer because then you can, okay, I'm going to reach back out to my clients. And the other
Mhm.
thing to note too, I think people are worried about, well, I'm going on vacation next week and a client just reached out. Most clients, if you say, hey, here's when I can kick it off. So many times that's happened to me. And even normally, because even if I'm not taking a vacation, I'm often booked up for several weeks. And so a lot of
Mhm.
clients, if they're planning their projects well and they're going out to explore who they're going to hire as a copywriter for whatever need they have, they're doing it with enough time that it honestly, a lot of times will not make a difference. So if you're good at
Yeah.
time management, and I think it takes a little bit of practice, it is a different style of time management than being in a full-time office, but once you start to do it and figure out what your boundaries are and what you're comfortable with and what you do and don't want to do on a vacation, it becomes a lot more relaxing. Really, it's a truly relaxing
Mhm.
vacation.
Mhm.
And just for
Yeah,
context for
you're
people, in
really
case
getting away.
in case they're interested, I usually try to take 2, maybe 3 laptop shutdown vacations a year where I'm not answering email, I'm not answering anything. But then I can take so many more. Oh, this is a slow day. I don't have a lot of client work. I'm going to pop out Friday or Monday or whatever it is. So the amount of time off is actually a lot greater than in an office. And I'm not penalized salary wise for it because I can, maybe there are some days, of course, that I work longer than a normal, necessarily 9 to 5. There are also a lot of days where I work shorter hours. I
Mhm.
mean, how much time when you've been in a full-time job in an office do you wait around waiting for other people to get back to you or just, sitting and waiting for an email to come through? There's so much wasted time. And so for freelance, you don't have that. You can say, okay, I sent this off and I don't expect the client to get back to it right away. So now let me go off and do what I need to do or get started on the
Mhm.
next project or whatever it is. There's always ways to fill your time
Mhm. Yeah,
productively, I should say.
absolutely. Yes.
Productively
Yeah,
fill your time.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think of so many jobs where I would finish what I had to do and sit there thinking, what am I doing here today? I
Yeah.
got to come up with something to do. I have to come up with something to do in my own job.
Mhm.
Whereas, yeah, when you're a freelancer, it's your own schedule. So and that Monday back from vacation, okay, if you don't have client work to do, then do mostly pitching that day. There's
Well, you can
always
also
something to
schedule
do.
it that way of like, "Ooh, it's my
Mhm.
first day back from vacation, so I'm gonna book any client calls till Tuesday." And that way Monday I can go through emails, I can catch up, I can reach out, and it's a
Mhm.
much more relaxing day than being thrown back into the full
Mhm.
chaos of, a business that's been going while you've been gone.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So other benefits of being on full-time jobs, free coffee, free snacks,
A
a kitchen that
kitchen.
feels like home,
But,
foosball table.
there usually aren't kitchens with stoves or things like that. I can't tell you
That's
how many
true.
times I make some eggs for breakfast, yes, but also for lunch. Or, I can actually cook something and not just have to
Hmm.
microwave it.
Yes.
It's a much
And
better kitchen.
yes. Now, I mean, yes, it's true that the coffee we have at our own homes is not free. We pay for that coffee.
You can deduct it.
Oh, that's
It's
interesting. I
I
hadn't
mean,
thought about that.
technically, I
Yeah.
have thought about putting a coffee maker in my office so that it's technically in my office and not used
Yeah.
for personal use as well. But you can also do the math and work with a tax person. Again, they can figure out how much do you make coffee for personal use versus in the office. Monday through Friday, I'm in the office, so
5 days out of 7. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's more than
Exactly. Oh,
50%
that's
of
a
the
great
time.
idea.
Yeah, deduct some of your office
Yeah,
snacks. If you have
exactly.
snacks in
Work
the
only
office,
snacks.
yes. I mean,
That
again,
is so
not a
interesting.
tax
Yes,
expert,
definitely talk
but
to a professional. Yeah, talk to a professional. But
Get your
that's so
office
interesting.
snack
Yeah,
wall
the
going.
funny thing is office snack wall. Um, the funny thing about those additional benefits of like especially with tech companies, they try to make
Mhm.
offices fun and like, woo, there's a ping pong table, there's a foosball table, there's
I have a swimming
TVs
pool.
and video games, swimming pool. Wow, they don't have a swimming pool.
I think
But
that Google has a
they're
swimming pool.
essentially trying to make, of course they
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Um, they're essentially trying to make work feel more like home,
Mhm.
right? They're
Yeah.
trying to make work feel as fun as home. But the fun thing about being a freelancer is you're already home.
Mhm.
Your home is already as fun as you need it to be. And it's not the office manager ordering snacks or shopping for snacks. It's you or
Mhm.
your family members.
Well,
And
and you're not putting 14-hour days at the office just because it's a cool office.
exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. There are elements of being on staff. Now, Kate and I have talked about this. I
Mhm.
do miss seeing other people in an office and, saying, hey, what are you doing right now? Do you want to take a break? Should we go get some coffee or that kind of thing? Um, and if you're the kind of person who likes interacting with other people in person, obviously not. We're still in the pandemic while we're recording this, or pre 100% vaccination, so nobody can really do that right now. But if you are the kind of person who misses that, there's still ways to get around that. Once we
Mhm.
can be out socializing with people, you can go to a workspace, or you can meet people for lunch. People who your friends who work in offices say, hey, all right, you want to meet for lunch, I'll come over and meet you. Like, you can still see people and you can still interact with people. But the great thing is, and just watch the look of jealousy in their eyes when you finish up lunch and they're like, all right, I'm going back to the office. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go home. I have one call and then I'm done for the rest of the day because I did all my copywriting this morning. Just watch, watch the look of
Mhm.
jealousy in their eyes as you go back to your fabulous freelance life. Yeah.
Mhm. Or even if you don't, taking the rest of the afternoon off and say, I'll just do it Sunday night because you can manage your time how you want, which is
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the summer days when
Mhm.
you think, all right, I have this deadline and the deadline is coming up, but you know what? It's gorgeous today. The
Mhm.
weather is perfect. It's sunny out. I'm just going to go, go get an iced coffee somewhere, go for a walk. You can do that. There's nobody looking over your shoulder or
Yeah.
going, hey, where did so and so go? Or, well, that was quite a long lunch. You don't have to worry about that. You are in charge of yourself,
Mhm.
which is, I don't think it's hard to even put a value on that benefit of being a freelancer.
It's
Of
so, so true.
Yeah,
I
of
tend
that.
to look at the weather in the summer and like, oh, Sunday's going to thunderstorm all day. Cool. I'll spend Sunday inside all day. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
And then I will take today, which is gorgeous and maybe the only sunny day for weeks. Okay, let's enjoy
Mm-hmm.
this and not feel I'm in the office looking out the window and all my friends are at the beach who are teachers and they have summer
Yeah,
off. Well,
it's true. That's true. That's true. But you know what? Once you're a freelancer, you can go meet your friends at the beach. Yeah.
yep, yep.
Yeah,
You can work from the
absolutely.
beach.
So,
Heck, watch for sand in the
yes, it's
keyboard, but
yes, it's very true. I will say that every time I'm working next to a pool, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to be that close to the pool. Um, but yeah, it's absolutely, and you do, little tip, watch out for direct sunlight on your computer because
ooh,
that does
yeah.
not,
I hate
your
that you get the
computer goes
announcement from
black and then it's
Apple and
like,
it's
I
like,
need to cool down.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. It's like overheating. You're like, oh, I'm sorry.
You're like,
Let
oh,
me get back to my pina colada.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for this reminder to lather another layer of sunscreen, computer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Apple.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we hope that this has been illuminating, clarifying for you. If you've been interested in freelancing, but thinking, oh God, I don't want to give up my free benefits, because again, they're not free. You're paying for
Nothing's
them one
free.
way or another. Nothing's free. You're paying for them one way or another when you're on staff. But if you've been worried about health insurance or 401k or vacation or any of that kind of stuff, we hope that this has has made things a little bit clearer, and hopefully also too a little bit more manageable. I hope you feel a little bit empowered when it comes to the retirement accounts and health insurance and all that stuff. None of it is as hard as you think it's going to be until you actually do it. When you do it, you're like, oh, all right, that wasn't that bad. It's always harder before you dig into it. Your idea of how hard it's going to be is so high, so huge. And then when you actually do it, it's steps. You follow steps. Other people have done it before. You can do it too.
If I can do it, I promise. I promise.
I'll second that. Yeah, exactly. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you don't miss any tips, tools, or tactics for copywriters by clicking subscribe right now. And of course, you can always find us over at filthyricwriter.com. We'll see you next time.